There is a price to be paid every time a survivor shares their story.
Then why are you going to share this with me?
If my sharing my story helps one child, just one child anywhere, from being sexually abused, I'm willing to tell my story.
Sherry Autry says she is a survivor of child sexual abuse. Born and raised in the Secretive Christian sect known by outsiders as the 2x2 Church. The 2x2 religion is so secretive, most people haven't even heard of it. Ministers of the church, known as workers, travel in pairs within their designated areas. Most of their belongings confined to just a suitcase, living together in members' homes, usually for a few days at a time.
Why do you say the 2x2 Church has a sex abuse problem?
I'm a victim of it.
Is the 2x2 Church a breeding ground for pedophiles?
It is the perfect environment for pedophiles.
But Sherry's story is not unique. We've been investigating this secretive sect for a year, speaking to dozens of alleged victims of child sexual abuse across more than 30 states. A lot of the ex-members we spoke to say that some of the church leadership knew about the abuse allegations, but didn't report any of it to the authorities. Rather than calling in the cops, alleged abusers kept on working, but in different states.
The shuffling of abusers from state to state to state, from country to country to country, is common. Get the abuser out of Dodge.
What is the 2x2 Church?
It is a secret sect. They claim it to be a non-denominational Christian church. They don't have any church structures. They meet in each other's home. It flies under the radar, but it is actually a very organized structure.
The belief that their one true way, their interpretation of God's law, supersedes man's.
All these institutions think they're above the law because God is on their side. These institutions are havens for sexual abusers. And the child cannot protect the child.
Protection, Sherry says, she never had 40 years ago when she was 14, and a worker by the name of Steve Rose moved into her home.
He was kind of a celebrity worker, very tall, 6'6", huge presence, very charismatic, and
handsome, charming,
all the above.
So Steve Rose moves into your house. What happened?
So the first night, hey Sherry, let's go down to the barn, tell scary stories, feed the dogs, and started kissing me.
What happened next?
It went from just kissing to him coming to my room at night. There was touching under the clothes. When we went to his room is when it was more explicit. He asked me to take my pajamas off, take my underwear off. He'd be there in bed naked.
And then what?
He'd have me grab his penis. He'd be touching me everywhere, kissing me. And it was scary. It was scary. Because I knew if we got caught, I would be in trouble.
You were 14, he was 28?
I was a little girl. I hadn't started my period. There was nothing womanly about me. I was a little scrawny tomboy.
Steve Rose stayed in Sherry's home for 2 months. She says the abuse happened every day. It took 3 years before Sherry could get the courage to tell her parents about Steve Rose, and when she did, they immediately believed her. Sherry's parents did take action. They wrote a letter to their overseer, the man in charge of workers in their area, and they told him about Steve Rose and his alleged abuses. He responded, and so did Steve Rose.
I would like to say and make very clear We did not have sexual intercourse. We did kiss and touch each other intimately. This did not happen with anyone else. I did not intend to cover this up, but I did not know how to handle it other than to leave the area and beg God to forgive me. I was old enough to know better, but still weak in the flesh.
Members of the church leadership never reported Steve Rowe's abuse to the police. Instead, he was asked to apologize to Sherry in person.
And then what?
And then 6 years later, he's promoted, multiple workers knowing that he's a pedophile.
Sherry has been trying to find justice, but when we reached out to the Tulare County District's Attorney's Office, we got this statement that seemed to indicate a criminal conviction would not happen. Prosecutors have meticulously reviewed reports and victim accounts in this case and have determined that any potential crime falls outside of California's statute of limitations. It's not just Sherry's life that's been changed forever. There's Cheryl Owings in North Carolina, who says her abuse began when she was 7 in 1955. Laura Lee Brown in California, who says she was 9. And there's a girl in Montana whose family says she was just 2 years old. She is now 13. In a rare, exclusive interview, we sat down with the FBI at the Omaha field office that's now leading this worldwide investigation.
Sources tell us they've given you 800 names of perpetrators. Have you ever heard of something this widespread?
What I can tell you is this. When we first put out the initial message requesting people provide us information, we did receive quite a bit of information. And we're continuing that push.
The FBI insists that anyone who experienced abuse should contact them.
Let's say you arrest one person, 2 people. Is that it?
The FBI focuses, in general, on bringing cases from local to global. The FBI doesn't stop at just an initial arrest. We will follow the evidence wherever it leads.
There's no one head of the church. But as for the dozens of former and current overseers with whom we spoke, all of them denied knowing anything about the widespread sexual abuse taking place within the church.
So we tried several times to call Steve Rowe. We did get him on the phone. He hung up on me. So we're now in Minneapolis. Tony has me mic'd up, and we're going to head over to his work, hoping that he will answer our questions on camera.
Yep. Here we go, guys.
Is that right?
Yep, that's him.
Yep, that's him. I would say start approaching him.
Ready? Steve Rose, Kira Phillips with ABC News. I'd like to ask you about these letters that you wrote Sherry Autry's parents and also your overseer.
Yeah, no comment.
Did you sexually
comment.
did you sexually abuse Sherry Autry when she was 14 and you were 28?
No comment.
Our many thanks to Kira. You can watch the entire story on Impact by Nightline, The Secrets of the 2x2 Church, now streaming on Hulu.